Okay, so Samantha, thank you so much for meeting with us tonight, one of our many Zoom meetings. And for folks that don't know, Samantha is a family law attorney, a very good family law attorney, with her own firm, which is Lennon, excuse me, and Heredia. And they practice family law. And as a bankruptcy attorney, obviously, bankruptcy and family law intersect quite a bit. And so it is a practice area that a lot of my clients have questions about for me. So I wanted to get Samantha on here so she could answer questions for people, that have just general family law questions, but also during this whole COVID-19 crisis, what's going on with the courts. So Samantha, first question I have for you that I'm getting from my clients is, what do you do if you can't pay your child support payments because you're not working?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't pay your child support, then what you need to do is file a modification of child support. Um, any type of reduction you try to get or work out with your ex-spouse is not automatic by any means. In fact, if you can't pay and you're accruing an arrearage over that period of time, that arrearage will stick with you even after COVID stops rearing its ugly head. So yeah, a modification is necessary in the first step to.
And how long, I mean, what's typical for a modification to actually from filing to getting one granted?
So the process is, the first step would be to file the petition, and then the other side has to get served. Right now, it's not so easy to get someone served, but a lot of folks are acknowledging service, which makes it easier because they're scared, obviously, to have the exposure of someone serve them in their own home. So once that happens, it's really a matter of getting everyone into mediation. Most modifications resolve themselves in mediation. All the good mediators are doing Zoom mediations.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, working together to figure out what is a good temporary number while we weather this storm. That really works for both sides.
So in your experience, are your clients, are they able to work something out, or are you still seeing a lot of litigation on this?
Right now, people seem to be cooperating. I mean, if someone's being furloughed or lose their jobs, I mean, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip or
Yes.
but yeah, people seem to be working through it, and especially if we word the order that this is temporary, that as soon as the person, whether it's the ex-husband or the ex-wife, regains their previous income, then the previous child support or alimony award will go back to what it was. So folks seem to be pretty understanding that it's not a permanent change, and that makes it palatable for both sides.
And what about in bankruptcy court, for example, we're still having hearings. So bankruptcy court goes on. So our judges have been amazing about they're holding hearings. Right now we do it telephonically. In bankruptcy, we don't do a lot of mediation, so it's pretty much just hearings, most of which are administrative. But what's going on in family law court?
So, well, I have a trial tomorrow, a Zoom trial.
A Zoom trial.
Yes, it's kind of fun because you'll see the judges in their robe, but then you also see that they're in their house. So it's been a very humanizing experience. But yeah, it's going on. I've had hearings in front of judges through Zoom. So everything is still going on. The only cases that are still going to actual court are physical violence. They're considered emergencies. And so you can actually go to court and see a judge in person for those cases. But everything else I've not had a single hearing or trial get canceled. They're just going forward through. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, that's cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So this isn't stopping anyone's divorce or so in fact, I think it's kind of increasing the speed of the process because people just want to have one area of their lives that are a little less turbulent. So they seem more willing to go into mediation and resolve things.
So that leads me to my next question. What are you seeing in terms of divorce petitions? Are you seeing an uptick, or are you getting a lot of inquiries right now?
A lot of inquiries, and it's interesting because people are still cohabitating and sheltering in place together. So a lot of my husband or wife is somewhere else right now. Can I ask some quick questions? So I can definitely tell that when the shelter in place order is lifted, that there's going to be a big uptick. And even as this is going, people are finding other places to live. It's definitely for couples that have been maybe on the rocks or contemplating divorce, it seems to be going one way or the other. I've couples that were about to get divorced but are now reconciling in this process because it's brought them together, and other couples that seem strong and it's kind of pulling them apart. So it's definitely been destabilizing.
And my next question is, what are you doing about visitation? I mean, if you have a party that's using COVID, I mean, and maybe I shouldn't say using, but COVID may be a reason why they don't want their child to go over to the other spouse's house, ex-spouse's house. What's going on with that? I mean, how do you handle that?
So that's a big problem we're facing right now. And interestingly, Governor Kemp actually clarified his executive order on April 3rd to specifically say that nothing in his shelter in place order would excuse someone for violating a judicial order. And then he even goes further to say that if someone has a custodial arrangement, that shelter in place should not be used as a defense against having the other parents.
Oh, wow.
So he was very specific. So if, like, I just had a case where father's not being able to see his children because mother's saying COVID-19, we have to shelter in place. It's pretty easy for me to come back and say to her, hey, yes, the shelter in place exists, but Governor Kemp explicitly carved out that is not a way to keep your child from seeing his father. And I've spoken to some guardian ad litems, and guardian ad litems represent children, and trying to figure out what's in the best interest of the children. And they're taking note that some parents are using this to withhold parenting time. And they view that as a form of, I wouldn't go as far as to say alienation, but bad co-parenting. So yeah.
And because I've had clients, I have bankruptcy clients. The main question they usually have is about child support on both sides. So a lot of my bankruptcy clients are supposed to be receiving child support, and of course, if they don't, then that's causing issues in their bankruptcy case. And then on the flip side, I also have bankruptcy clients that are supposed to be paying, and they're getting laid off and furloughed. But I have had a few ask me about specifically, what if I don't feel comfortable? And so thank you for clarifying that. So at least I have a good source in regards to telling them what to do. And Samantha, you might want to kind of talk about, when you say family law, most people think it's just, divorce and child support, but that encompasses so much more. What other things does your firm provide in the realm of family law?
So a big one right now is contempt. So if someone's not abiding by their order, like they are not paying child support, they haven't modified the order, then they are technically in contempt of a court order. So we try to enforce the court order. Physical violence against either any type of family member, adoptions, anything that really pertains to like the growing or the dissolution of a family.
And does your firm handle prenuptial agreements?
Yes. A big part of my practice are prenuptial agreements and postnuptial agreements. Prenuptial agreements have been sort of funny right now because a lot of weddings that were about to happen have been put on hold. So the prenuptial agreements are not, normally I get a client and they're like, I'm going to get married in 3 months. And now people's weddings plans are changing. And then postnups are usually when parties have talked about maybe getting divorced, but they're not sure and they're still trying to work on their agreement or on their marriage. And it's called a reconciliation agreement or a postnuptial agreement, and just spelling out if they were to get divorced, what that would look like.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I don't know that much about the postnuptial, so that's interesting. So you guys, from start to finish, you guys handle it. Anything?
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
Well, I think in both our practice areas, nobody saw this coming. I mean, in bankruptcy, we see up times and down times, and we knew we had one coming, but just the way this was delivered is just so bizarre. And so, it seems like every week there's something new. And then I think just from a legal perspective, we're all just like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? I think I think we're all, I don't want to say bumbling, but I think we're all making it through, but it definitely is some interesting times, I think, in lawyer land.
Yeah, it is. And the rumor mill is constantly circulating. I think I just heard today that they're going to extend courts being closed a whole another month and maybe even beyond that. So it's an interesting time, but it also, there's been a good sense of community, attorneys helping each other.
I agree.
And I've also noticed just clients and their significant others helping each other, understanding where the other person's coming from. Or if one parent is a healthcare worker, understanding that, hey, that doesn't make you a bad parent, but right now maybe you need to take a break from the child and let's work this out so that everyone stays safe and healthy. And I've seen a lot of cooperation, and that's
Nice. That's
Mhm.
nice. And I will say on the bankruptcy side, we've seen a lot. The mortgage lenders, I mean, they're overwhelmed too with requests for forbearance and whatnot. But we're seeing the creditors, the trustees, everyone is trying to work with our clients, so people don't lose their homes, so that their cases can continue. So I agree. I think it's been nice to see the legal community has definitely been pulling together. Knock on wood, I've actually not seen any bad stories, at least in bankruptcy, I've not. So it's been positive in that respect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, interesting times for sure, though, and I do think if other countries and states are indicative of our future, that there will be an uptick in
Yeah.
divorces,
Yeah.
and I'm it's hard. It's hard to be sheltering in place with anyone, let alone in our time where we're all used to going to work and not being on top of each other. So it's trying. So I get.
And Samantha, how are you seeing clients right now? I mean, obviously you're still open for business. Phone calls, video, what are you doing?
A lot of phone calls, a lot of video. Yeah, I haven't been to my office in over a month, but it has filings keep going. Luckily, I mean, in this day and age, everything's e-filing.
Yeah.
Courts are remote, so I can work pretty easily from home, and things are running pretty smoothly. I'm almost wondering why I even need an office.
Yeah, I know, right? It actually does make you think about that expense. You're like, well, I'm
Yeah.
doing everything. Yeah, my entire staff has been, since March 10th, have been working off-site. And like you, we were already set up for that. We've invested a lot in technology, so it's not a big deal. And we were actually doing video consults before this happened. So it's not been a hard transition. I have some friends it's been a little hard if they've not gone onto the cloud and they were still going into an office.
Oh, I can't imagine. I guess I didn't even think about that if you are connected to the cloud.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple.
Forwarded to my cell phone. It's been a pretty easy transition for me.
Right. I've gotten a couple of emergency calls asking me about, oh, how do you do this? But that's good to know. So, I mean, just like us, you guys are open, life goes on. And I mean, I miss seeing people. I really enjoy meeting with my clients too. I mean, in person. So it's been a change, but I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you have two little ones, you've got a crazy schedule. And so I really appreciate you taking the time. I think, these updates are very useful. They most certainly are for my clients, and I'm sure they're for anybody here in Georgia that's watching this. So anyway, Samantha, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get some updates in a couple of weeks.
Definitely, and thanks for virtually having me.